Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
What is going on, football fanatics? Your boy is back with some absolutely explosive news coming out of the NFL that has me fired up, heated, and ready to go off on some people who clearly don't know what they're watching every single Sunday. We're talking about Shedeur Sanders, we're talking about the Cleveland Browns, and we're talking about one of the most disrespectful situations I've seen in professional football in a long time. Before we dive into this absolute mess, I need you to understand something. The weather in Chicago was absolutely brutal. We're talking freezing cold, snow on the ground, wind whipping through Soldier Field like Mother Nature herself was trying to test these young men. But you know what? None of that matters when you've got an organization that apparently can't recognize elite quarterback talent even when it's staring them directly in the face week after week after week. Let me set the scene for you because this story has layers upon layers of drama, controversy, and straight-up disrespect that needs to be addressed. Shedeur Sanders, the son of NFL legend and college football coaching icon Deion Sanders, came into the Cleveland Browns organization with question marks, with doubters, with haters lined up around the block, ready to say he wasn't ready for the NFL, that he was just riding his daddy's coattails, that he didn't have what it takes to succeed at the highest level of professional football. And you know what Shedeur did? He went out there week after week and proved every single one of those doubters absolutely wrong. But apparently, that's not good enough for the Cleveland Browns front office and coaching staff. According to reports that dropped yesterday from an NFL insider, and I'm going to read this to you word for word because you need to hear this garbage for yourself, quote, "I have no indication from anyone in Cleveland or publicly from the Cleveland front office or the coaching staff that they believe Shedeur Sanders is the guy." Peter Schrager, a legitimate NFL insider who has connections throughout the league, revealed that the Browns still haven't considered Shedeur as their future quarterback. Read that again. Still haven't considered him as their future. After everything this young man has done, after all the games he's won, after all the throws he's made, after all the leadership he's shown, they still don't believe he's the guy? Are you kidding me right now? Let me break down why this is absolutely insane, why this is one of the most disrespectful things I've seen an NFL organization do to a young quarterback, and why the Cleveland Browns might be making one of the biggest mistakes in franchise history. But first, we need to talk about the numbers, because the numbers don't lie. And the numbers tell a story that should have the Browns front office on their knees, begging Shedeur to be their franchise quarterback for the next decade. Let's go back to Shedeur's final season at Colorado, his Heisman Trophy-winning campaign that had the entire college football world talking. This young man completed passes at a 74% completion rate. 74%. Do you understand how elite that is? That's not just good, that's exceptional. That's the kind of accuracy that NFL scouts dream about when they're evaluating quarterback prospects. He threw for 4,134 yards in a single season. Over 4,000 yards. He had 37 total touchdowns against just 10 interceptions. That's a touchdown-to-interception ratio that would make most NFL veterans jealous. And this kid was doing it in college while dealing with constant pressure, constant criticism, and constant doubters saying he wasn't the real deal. Now, some people will point to his passing rating and say it was kind of low, but let me explain something to you about passing ratings and context. Shedeur was playing behind an offensive line that was getting dominated in certain games. He was throwing to receivers who dropped passes. He was dealing with defensive coordinators who were specifically game planning to stop him because they knew if they could neutralize Shedeur, they could beat Colorado. Despite all of that adversity, despite all of those challenges, he still put up those incredible numbers and won the Heisman Trophy, the most prestigious individual award in all of college football. But here's where it gets really interesting, and here's where the Browns look absolutely foolish. Let's compare Shedeur's college numbers to the quarterback who actually won the Heisman Trophy in 2024. Now, I'm not going to sit here and trash another young quarterback because that's not what we do, but we need to be honest about the comparison. The 2025 Heisman winner, who everyone was raving about, who everyone was saying was going to be the #1 pick, who everyone was crowning as the savior of whatever franchise drafted him, let me tell you his numbers. His completion percentage was lower than Shedeur's. His yardage total was over 1,000 yards less than what Shedeur threw for. Over 1,000 yards! That's not a small difference. That's a massive gap in production. When you look at the two quarterbacks side by side, there's simply no comparison. Shedeur Sanders is better in virtually every meaningful statistical category, and yet somehow, some way, the narrative around the league was that the other guy was the better prospect, that the other guy was more NFL ready, that the other guy deserved to go higher in the draft. And you want to know why? I'll tell you why. Because Shedeur Sanders has a famous father, because people want to diminish his accomplishments by saying he only succeeded because of his last name, because the haters and the doubters can't stand the idea of a Sanders succeeding at the highest level of football. Let's talk about what happened in Chicago, because that game was a perfect microcosm of everything Shedeur has had to deal with this season. The weather was absolutely brutal, and I mean brutal in every sense of the word. It was freezing cold, temperatures well below what any human being should have to endure while trying to play professional football. The wind was whipping through Soldier Field at speeds that made throwing a football accurately nearly impossible. There was snow on the ground from the previous day. Deion Sanders Jr., Shedeur's brother who was there to support him and document everything for social media, posted on Instagram that it was so cold it was hard to breathe. Hard to breathe. That's the kind of conditions Shedeur was expected to go out there and perform in while also dealing with the knowledge that his own organization doesn't believe in him. And you know what? Shedeur went out there and balled out anyway. He came to the stadium bundled up in his diamond turf joints, the signature shoes that pay homage to his father's legendary career, ready to prove once again that he belongs in the NFL, that he can perform under pressure, that he can handle adverse conditions, and that the Cleveland Browns should be building their entire franchise around him for the next 10 to 15 years. This young man has ice in his veins, and I don't just mean because of the Chicago weather. He's clutch, he's composed, he's confident, and he has every single attribute you want in a franchise quarterback. But apparently none of that matters to the Browns organization. According to the reports coming out of Cleveland, they're not convinced. They're still evaluating. They're still looking at other options. And you know what that tells me? That tells me the Browns are about to Browns it up once again, because that's what the Cleveland Browns do. They find ways to mess up golden opportunities. They find ways to let elite talent slip through their fingers. They find ways to make the wrong decision at the most critical moments. Let's talk about the upcoming quarterback class that supposedly has the Browns looking elsewhere. The 2025 quarterback class is being called mediocre by most draft analysts, and honestly, that's being generous. There's no Andrew Luck in this class. There's no Trevor Lawrence. There's no generational talent that makes you want to pass on a proven commodity like Shedeur Sanders. And yet, the Browns are apparently still not sold on him, still not ready to commit to him as their future, still not willing to publicly declare that he's their guy moving forward. You know what that does to a young quarterback's confidence? You know what that does to the locker room dynamic? You know what that does to the team's ability to build continuity and chemistry on offense? It's absolutely destructive.
Allowing him to put the pads on and get his first work on the field in over a year.
Getting him back to playing football, practicing football, which he hasn't done in over a year. So it's good next step for him.
Watson originally tore his Achilles in October of last season, a non-contact.
Unconditionally. You build your entire offensive system around his strengths, and you give him the weapons and protection he needs to succeed. You don't waffle, you don't second guess, you don't leave him hanging while you explore other options. The Browns have been searching for a franchise quarterback for decades, literally decades. They've gone through more quarterbacks than most people can even remember. They've drafted busts, they've signed free agent disasters, they've traded for retreads, and none of it has worked. And now, when they finally have a young quarterback with legitimate franchise potential sitting right there on their roster, they're acting like they need to keep looking. It's absolutely maddening. Let's break down what Shedeur has actually done in the NFL since joining the Browns, because the narrative doesn't match the reality. In the games where he's been given a legitimate opportunity to start and play significant snaps, he's shown poise in the pocket, accuracy on his throws, the ability to read defenses, and the leadership
injury in the Week 7 matchup against the Bengals. After having surgery that fall, he re-injured it and had a second surgery on it in January. Despite co-owner Jimmy Haslam openly admitting the trade for him was a, quote, swing and a miss, Watson has spent the summer and the season on the reserve list, rehabbing at the facility.
Going into that Chicago game, The prediction was that Shedeur would throw for over 200 yards and 2 touchdowns despite the horrible weather conditions. And you know what? That's exactly the kind of performance we've come to expect from him. He doesn't make excuses, he doesn't complain about the conditions, he doesn't let adversity affect his preparation or his performance. He goes out there and handles his business like a professional, like a leader, like a guy who's ready to carry a franchise on his shoulders. The ground game was expected to be a major factor in that Chicago game because of the weather, and that's smart football. When it's freezing cold and windy, you run the ball, you control the clock, you win the field position battle, and you take advantage of scoring opportunities when they present themselves. But even in a game where the passing attack might be limited by weather, Shedeur was still expected to make the throws that matter, to convert crucial third downs, to lead scoring drives when the game was on the line. And he's proven time and time again that he can do exactly that. Now, let's address the elephant in the room, because we need to talk about why the Browns and the NFL media in general seem so reluctant to give Shedeur Sanders his proper respect. He's been working so hard
with the training staff and coming along, getting through all his rehab, so he's cleared, ready to go to the practice portion of this.
And while Watson has support within the locker room as he gets back to practice,
I feel like it's great he's going out there to practice. You learn from one of the greatest players to ever play the game. You develop habits and mindsets that most young players never get access to. The disadvantage is that people will always question whether you earned your success or whether it was handed to you because of your last name. But here's the thing that the doubters and haters refuse to acknowledge. Shedeur has earned everything he's accomplished. He didn't get a free pass through college. He didn't get drafted by the Browns because of nepotism. He got drafted because he's an elite quarterback talent who won a Heisman Trophy, who put up incredible numbers, who led his team to victories, and who demonstrated all the qualities NFL teams look for in a franchise quarterback. His father didn't throw those passes for him. His father didn't read those defenses for him. His father didn't make those clutch throws in pressure situations for him. Shedeur did all of that himself, and it's time people start giving him credit for his own accomplishments instead of trying to diminish them by bringing up his father. The support Shedeur has from his family is actually one of his greatest strengths, not a weakness. When Deion Sanders Jr. traveled to Chicago in that brutal cold to support his brother, when Coach Prime shows up to games to watch his son play, when the entire Sanders family rallies around Shedeur, that's not a negative, that's a positive. That shows the kind of tight-knit, supportive family structure that helps young players handle the immense pressure of playing in the NFL. That shows the kind of mental and emotional foundation that allows players to bounce back from adversity and keep pushing forward no matter what obstacles they face. And speaking of obstacles, let's talk about what Shedeur has had to overcome this season beyond just the doubters and the critics. He's playing for a Browns organization that's been dysfunctional for years, that hasn't had a stable quarterback situation in forever, hard to recover that doesn't and doing have the kind of elite he's able to do for this day. That's going to be exciting to see him out there. I hope I can get the first interception on him coming back. But I'm happy for him and looking forward to seeing him out there.
His future on an actual
He's playing in a division with the Baltimore Ravens, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Cincinnati Bengals, 3 teams with elite defenses and established winning cultures. And despite all of that, he's still out there competing, still putting up solid numbers, still giving his team a chance to win games. The fact that the prediction going into that Chicago game was that the Browns could pull off an upset should tell you everything you need to know about Shedeur's impact. The Browns aren't supposed to be competitive this season. They're supposed to be rebuilding, retooling, figuring out their long-term direction. But with Shedeur under center, suddenly they're in games, suddenly they're competing, suddenly they have a chance to win even against better teams. That's the mark of a franchise quarterback, someone who elevates everyone around him, someone who makes his team better just by being on the field. Let's also address the comments from the Browns coaching staff and front office, or rather, the lack of comments. The fact that they won't publicly commit to Shedeur, that they won't come out and say he's their guy, that they're leaving the door open for other options, is a massive red flag. It shows a lack of conviction, a lack of leadership, and a lack of understanding about how to build a winning organization. When Bill Belichick drafted Tom Brady and realized what he had, he didn't hedge his bets or keep other options open. When the Colts had Peyton Manning, they didn't spend their time evaluating other quarterbacks. When the Packers had Brett Favre and then Aaron Rodgers, they committed fully to those guys and built their entire franchise around them. The Browns need to make a decision, and they need to make it soon. Either you believe in Shedeur Sanders or you don't. Either you're going to commit to him as your franchise quarterback and build around him, or you're going to move on and try something else. But this wishy-washy, non-committal approach where you're keeping him on the roster, but not embracing him as your future is the worst possible option. It's unfair to Shedeur, it's confusing for the rest of the team, and it's a recipe for continued dysfunction and losing. Here's what should happen. The Browns should come out publicly, hold a press conference, and announce that Shedeur Sanders is their franchise quarterback moving forward. They should commit to building the offensive line to protect him. They should commit to drafting and signing weapons to put around him. They should commit to hiring an offensive coordinator and developing a system that maximizes his strengths. They should do all the things that successful organizations do when they identify their franchise quarterback. Instead, they're dithering, they're hesitating, they're second-guessing, and they're about to let a golden opportunity slip away. You know what's going to happen if the Browns don't commit to Shedeur? He's going to end up somewhere else, probably through a trade, and he's going to become a star for another organization while the Browns continue their endless search for a franchise quarterback. We've seen this movie before. We watched the Browns pass on Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson in the 2017 draft to select other players. We watched them draft Baker Mayfield first overall and then give up on him too quickly. We watched them trade for Deshaun Watson and give him a fully guaranteed contract that's now one of the worst deals in NFL history. The Browns have an unbelievably bad track record when it comes to evaluating and developing quarterbacks, and they're about to add another chapter to that depressing saga if they don't wake up and realize what they have in Shedeur Sanders. The weather in Chicago was brutal. The conditions were terrible. The odds were stacked against the Browns, and yet Shedeur went out there ready to compete, ready to prove himself once again, ready to show the doubters that he belongs. That's the kind of mentality you want in your franchise quarterback. That's the kind of toughness and determination that translates to winning football games. And if the Browns can't see that, if they can't recognize that they have something special right there on their roster, then they deserve every bit of criticism and mockery that comes their way when Shedeur inevitably succeeds somewhere else. The devil is working overtime trying to keep Shedeur down, trying to create obstacles in his path, trying to make people doubt his abilities and question whether he's the real deal. But you know what? Shedeur Sanders has dealt with doubters and haters his entire life. He's faced criticism since he was a kid because of his famous father. He's been told he's not good enough. He's not ready. He doesn't have what it takes. And every single time, he's responded by going out there and proving everyone wrong. This situation with the Browns is just another test, another obstacle, another opportunity for Shedeur to show the world what he's made of. And when it's all said and done, when Shedeur Sanders is holding up Lombardi trophies and making Pro Bowls and cementing his legacy as one of the great quarterbacks of his generation, we're all going to look back at this moment and shake our heads at how the Cleveland Browns couldn't see what was right in front of them. We're going to remember how they had a chance to build their franchise around an elite quarterback talent, and they hesitated, they doubted, they second-guessed themselves right into another decade of losing football. The message to Shedeur is simple. Keep your head up. Keep grinding. Keep proving the doubters wrong. Your time is coming. Your moment is approaching. And when it arrives, when you finally get the recognition and respect you deserve, it's going to be that much sweeter because of everything you had to overcome to get there. Keep shaking off the haters. Keep believing in yourself. Keep trusting the process. And keep being the elite quarterback that you are. All right, football fans, that's going to wrap up this absolutely insane story about Shedeur Sanders and the Cleveland Browns. If you're as fired up about this disrespect as I am, I need you to smash that like button right now and let me know in the comments whether you think the Browns are making a massive mistake by not committing to Shedeur as their franchise quarterback. Do you think Shedeur deserves better treatment? Do you think he's going to end up leaving Cleveland and becoming a star somewhere else? Drop your thoughts in the comments because I want to hear from each and every one of you. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss another video breaking down the biggest stories in football. Share this with your friends who are Browns fans so they can see what their organization is doing wrong. Until next time, keep shaking off the haters, keep supporting real talent, and keep believing in players who earn everything they get. Peace out.